I'm here with Coach Daniel Roose. He coaches Conversations, Episode 1. And Coach Roose has been somebody that I've known since I was about 15 years old. And we'll get to that in a second. But he is the Director of Sports Performance at Virginia Commonwealth University for the men's basketball team. Coach, I appreciate you joining us.
I'm excited to do it, Brian. Excited.
Yeah, appreciate it, man. Coach Roose, he's got quite the resume. Right now, he's like I said, with Virginia Commonwealth University. He's been to a Final Four. He's had stops at multiple places, from Campbell University to the University of Texas, and now he's back at VCU for his second time. But maybe the most prestigious, in my opinion, stop that he's ever had was as a junior varsity basketball coach at Eastern Randolph High School. And Coach, I don't know if you have that same viewpoint, but again, that was my experience with you. So I got a little surprise for you here. I'm going to do a little screen share so you can see it. Here we go. We're going to share it. And here's our boys from that team. You see it?
Oh, I see it. That's a great shot.
Oh, yeah. How old were you in this picture?
Well, I mean, I had to be first year out of college, maybe like 22, 23, I think.
Yeah. PE teacher at Ramseur Elementary. Is that correct?
Actually, at 3 elementary schools: Ramseur Elementary, Grace Chapel Elementary, and Grace Chapel, Ramseur, Coleridge Elementary.
Okay. So, yeah, just for those of you wondering about our connection, goes all the way back to when Coach first got started here. Just a little bit about this group, and then we'll get on to the important stuff. I don't remember a ton, but what I do remember is we had a lot of fun. We worked extremely hard. There was a lot of enthusiasm. And for a junior varsity basketball team, we won a lot of games. Is that what you remember?
I remember probably more than you think about that team. And you know, that was my first chance to be an actual head coach in a sport. And from the time I was 12, that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And so with that experience right there in that picture, you know, I got my first chance to have a group. Yeah. And do whatever I wanted with them. And it started in the selection of the team process. I mean, I see guys in that picture right there that were not the best players in the tryouts in some cases, but I chose them for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, because, you know, in 7th grade, I got cut from a middle school basketball team, you know, because the coach took the 13 best players or whatever, you know, and that always shaped me, and moving forward, like, you can't have that. Yeah, like, I watched 2 or 3 of those guys quit, you know, on that middle school team, thinking I wouldn't have quit, you know, and so that went into that, and it did make that a really fun group, you know, because of the chemistry that we were able to create with that, and we did win a lot of games. So it was a fun time. Yeah.
And, you know, my takeaways before we move on, and you know, one of the things that I remember, and I'm a big time reflector. You know, I sit and think about, you know, stuff that I can, even going back to middle school, some things I could learn. Thinking about this team, you know, one thing I know about you, and I've seen you do it with your strength conditioning as well, is you brought energy. I mean, from my recollection, every time you stepped in the gym, there was energy, you know, and I think that's key for successful coaching. That's key for what you do, and that's key for at any level, whether it be basketball or whether it be in the business world or whatever. Bringing that enthusiasm and energy is, and also your ability to instill confidence in your players. And again, I think that's huge. I know you do it right now, and it's part of your job now. And just having that confidence. You know, I wasn't a great basketball player, middle school. freshman year, and I was just getting, to the point where I was starting to see some fruits of my labor going into my junior or my sophomore year on JV. And I think that my success that I had as a junior and senior in high school, really a big part of that foundation was the confidence that I gained and playing for you. So I don't know if I've ever told you that, but that was my record. So.
I'm really glad you said that, because it was during that time at Eastern Randolph when I realized, like, I don't like X's and O's. And it's probably what led me down the road that I'm on and have continued to be on and have had some moderate success with but I did understand how to coach people and how to get them to do the things that I wanted them to do.
Right.
But the X and O side was never a side that I learned that with football and watching film with Coach Cates and that crew there. Like, those guys could watch one play and tell you what all 11 guys did, and I was looking for how to do anything. So it kind of fits with what I do right now. So I'm appreciative of that time.
Yeah, and I know that you've had this philosophy throughout your career, because, to be honest with you, most successful coaches or business people or in any profession, sales, you're going to have this philosophy. But you were a junior varsity basketball coach, you were an assistant football coach, and you tried the very best you could do with your position that you had been given at that point in time. And I'm pretty sure that you've had that philosophy from there going into every step throughout your career, as you tried to do the best job that you could do with what you had. Is that correct?
Absolutely. And I can't take credit for this phrase. There's been other people who've said it, but it's make the big time where you are. Like right now, the big time is in my garage, and I'm going to make the best of it. Like, we're going to kill it in my garage right now, because that's where the big time is. Yeah. And no matter what job I've had, from Eastern Randolph High School to Campbell to UNC Pembroke, it doesn't matter. Like, I'm going to act like it's the biggest job in the world, and that's what I do, and that's basically how I have fun with it.
Awesome, man. So talk about your journey. What inspired you to pursue a career in strength and conditioning, and where did it take you from the time you first started to now?
In college was the first time I was really exposed. In high school, you're exposed to weightlifting and things like that, and I was at my high school, and I did gain confidence from that. It was amazing, the changes that brought about in me personally. So that's where that started. And then in college, that continues as when you're in college, you're age 18 to 22, and you can do anything in a weight room and get better. And that's why I like the level that I work at. Yeah. But it was right after college, with the guy that Cecil Mock.
Yeah.
And what he was able to do in the weight room at Eastern Randolph.
Right.
And the effect that he had, on those kids year round, and the amount of fun he had with it. And also a credit to those guys there. They're like, while you're young, you should go out and get a master's degree and get it paid for, before you have a family and things like that. And I'm thinking, I don't know, like at school, that. But no, they were right as usual. And so it worked out.
Yeah. Yeah. And, reference Cecil, he's one of those coaches that I think everybody that every player or coach that coached or played for him or was trained by him has a positive Cecil Mock story, somebody that's made an impact on a lot of lives. And,
certainly
going into my senior year, he was working at Winston-Salem at the time and would wake up in the morning and allow me to come lift weights with him prior to the basketball season. And we didn't again, anybody that doesn't know Eastern Randolph, it was a strong football culture there. And so, we just piggybacked off of that as basketball players for the most part. And
sure.
So Cecil, 5 a.m. working me out, and then going to Winston-Salem, then coming back and coaching and training.
Right.
So, that work ethic, now that I'm an adult, I understand what he actually did.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. So you went to Campbell, and after Campbell, you headed to Marshall. Is that correct?
Right. At Marshall is where I kind of used that experience at Campbell to reach out to all these different strength coaches throughout the country and try to get my foot in the door and get a graduate assistant position. And I got one at Marshall University. And just lucky enough that John Sanderson was a boss there. And at the time we were the same age, and he had about 4 other GAs, and it was just an unbelievable learning experience because there's 5 of us, and we're just trying to figure things out. And they John really let us go with our teams and our sports. And you're in grad school at the same time, and working 60 hours a week and drinking protein shakes that the athletes are supposed to get, just to make it by and things like that. And but it's one of those things that you look back on and think, man, I'm glad I did that. Right. And so then after I was finishing up my graduate work, and John took the head basketball strength job at Clemson University. And he recommended me to replace him there at Marshall. And so there I am at 25, 26 years old, and I'm the head strength coach for a Division I basketball program. Right. And I had all the other Olympic sports as well. And so I had about 4 or 5 GAs myself. And again, just like John, just trying to figure it out and make the best of it. And everything's coming at you, but you're just working and you don't know any different. Right. So after a year there, the head basketball coach was a guy named Ron Jerson. He got fired, unfortunately. You're a great human being, but sometimes you just make changes. And my job, because I was over Olympic sports, was safe, but at the same time, it's a basketball job, and I was going to have to get to know a whole new staff. And they came in, and it was Donnie Jones and his staff, and Brett Nelson was there, who I'm still close with. He actually just hired one of my former assistants the other day as his new strength coach. Awesome. But a job at UNC Pembroke opened up in southeastern North Carolina. It's a Division II school, and they had just started football. And my wife, Laura, and I just had our first child, Devin. And so this is 13 and a half years ago now. And so we went down there, interviewed, and the facilities were just outstanding. And, I was weighing it in my mind, and there were people telling me, well, don't go to a Division II job. You might never get a chance to be a Division I coach again. And I thought, well, here, both of Devin's sets of grandparents are within an hour or so of here. It just feels right. Right. And so, we took the job there. And, like you alluded to earlier, it was a chance to just make the big time where you are. I said, I'm just going to make this into the best Division II strength program in the country. Absolutely. And I think the ways we did that, and luckily we were there, and they had an unbelievable football coach and a really good basketball coach came in there my second year, and it was just a lot of fun. Right. And it's the kind of place that the school, I could actually see myself retiring there because there's no stress on the job. There's no pressure like in winning. Right. But it was not the greatest place to raise a family in southeastern Carolina. Yeah. And so as I'm finishing up my second year there, a guy named Sean Smart got the job at VCU, the head basketball job, and his director of ops was the guy that I worked with before, and he called me up and said, hey, we're hiring a strength coach. He said, would you come up and interview? So I came up, and my interview was a little bit strange in that one of the current players there, his mom had passed away that morning, and so everyone was, kind of, I don't think it was expected, and just a kind of a tough time, but the interview went off and still did that. And they offered me the job that night. I took it and was in Richmond, within 2 or 3 weeks. Right. And, from there, that was my first time working with primarily one sport. Yeah. And it was fun in a way that I could really dig into that, but it was challenging too. Mm-hmm. In that I was kind of used to training all these different sports. And if I had a bad day with football, on a Thursday morning, well, then guess what? At 9 a.m., women's soccer's coming in, and they're fun to train.
Right.
And so I can just move on, and with training one sport, all of a sudden you have a bad day in the weight room with them, like you not see them till the next day. Yeah. Or you're in every meeting, you're in every practice, you're doing all these other things you've not done before. And so it was pulling you in different ways, and you have different relationships with the players then, and just figuring that out. Right. And so there was a learning curve to that. By our second year, I think I'd figured that out and built great relationships with the players. And we were really lucky enough to catch fire at the end of that year and went to the Final Four in Houston. And it's still just a surreal experience to think back on that time and how we just tried to keep everything routine and keep doing the things that got us there. And just a lot of fun group of kids, hyper competitive. I'll take a hyper competitive kid over anybody else. Absolutely. At this point, just due to how that group was. And so that really was a springboard for us here at VCU. We spent 4 years here after that, and just the recruits got better, and we had a lot more wins. And ultimately, Coach Smart took the job at Texas. And that night that he took it, he said, "Hey, I want you to come with me." And I felt like it would be a fun challenge. And also I knew that I didn't have a choice in the matter, and that the guys getting the VCU job had strength coaches that were my former assistants. And so I didn't want to keep the guys from getting a step up in a job that they were in. Right. In any of the ones who would have possibly been hired at that time. All three of them had great coaches that were my former assistants. Right. And so went to Texas. At Texas, it was an interesting situation in that we got really, really good players, but some of them were only there for about 10 months at a time. Right. And since I got back here to VCU, that one to me is the main reason that I'm back, aside from personal family reasons and being close to grandparents and things like that again. But the Muhammad Bamba, Jared Allen, Jackson Hayes, Isaiah Taylor, guys like that left early. Right. Great kids. I love them. I still talk to Jackson Moe a good bit, and Isaiah. But they know they're there for 10 months. We know they're there for 10 months. It's just hard to build a team like that. And there's something to me about having a guy for 3 or 4 years and being able to build and develop that relationship and, get to know parents and things like that. Right. That's more meaningful and impactful to me in what I do on my side of things. And so that made the decision to come back here last summer to VCU a really easy one for me. It just fits me. Our facilities and things like that. You've been there, are outstanding. Some of the top in the country, and so it's just a really good fit. So we're thrilled to be back here and see where it takes us.
So I've watched a couple previous podcasts that you've done, and in one of those you had mentioned how much fun you have in building a program. Obviously you helped build, VCU into what it is, and from a strength and conditioning standpoint and beyond. And so talk a little bit about that when you're talking about building your own strength program, but also the role that your strength program plays in the whole culture of the entire program.
Yeah, that's the most challenging and fun part of the job at the same time, is figuring out those buttons to push and what to do. And it starts in your off season. Every year, you guys at the high school level, I'm sure there's people and parents think you just roll the balls out on October the 15th or October 30th, right after football season, and say, let's play. That's not how it works, And so what I talk to my guys about all the time is putting good days on top of good days and good weeks on top of good weeks, because it's not good enough now in today's society of watching a 10-second clip on the internet of you doing something or working on some skill, and then it's just there. It takes work. It takes time to gain these things, and so like you see some of these things that we see on the internet, whether it's these NBA guys working out or whatever it may be, and I should be doing that. Well, yeah, you should have been doing that a long time ago, probably, if you want to get to where that guy is.
Right.
You know, but right now it's about having a great day and winning today, whether it's June the 1st or whether it's October 19th. You know, you got to win today. You got to get your head out of the clouds and start thinking about, you know, well, this is what it's going to look like when I'm on the court. This is what I'm going to do. This is going to be my ultimate season this year. All this stuff. No, forget about that. It's today. It's right now. You know, there's no better time to start than right now. Don't wait for Monday. Don't wait for next week. Do it now. Do it. That's when to do it. And so that's what the off season to me is about.
Right.
It's about the quality of work, you know, versus the quantity of work or the how good does this look on social media kind of work, you know?
Yeah, that's awesome, Coach. And, you know, obviously you've worked with a couple great coaches. I mean, and beyond, but Shaka Smart, everybody in the country and in the world kind of knows what he's done. And I had the opportunity to go and observe you guys this past season with Coach Rhodes, and talk a little bit about your observations of those two guys, of how different they are, but how similar they are, and just what makes them successful.
Sure. The first thing that makes those guys successful is they're just workers. They just grind, and in a good way. You know, that term has kind of been overused a little bit, but they were both Division III basketball players. You know, so no scholarship, anything like that. They played because they loved the game. And their love for the game is what bleeds through, you know, when they're on the court coaching those guys, or when they're off the court coaching those guys. There's a lot of similarities there. You know, Coach Smart's still the all-time assist leader at Kenyon College and in Ohio, and Coach Rhodes was the National Player of the Year and national champion at Lebanon Valley. And so just love the game. And both point guards, and you know, as you know, in our sport, that's your quarterback, you know, your leader, things like that. And so, it when those guys are coaching those guys, man, you can just see it. I just like to sit back and watch when they do that. You know, as far as differences go, Coach Rhodes is a little more on the fiery side. He likes to get after it in practice, and not that Coach Smart doesn't like to get after practice. He has a different way of doing it. Than Coach Rhodes does. But they're both extreme perfectionists in how we do things and making it simple for the guys and making them believe in. That's where I really side with those guys.
Yeah. You know, I wrote down quite a few things while I was there. And I'm going to edit this for the variety of viewers that we may have. Coach Rhodes in practice, but one of the things he said was it ain't about how you feel, it's about how hard you work. That really stuck with me because we live in a society where feelings you know, dictate what we do, and I think there's a common thread amongst people that are successful, and that is that they're able to do what they need to do despite their feelings. And I believe that's what Coach was trying to portray to his players. The other thing he said was, one of the greatest lessons you'll learn here at VCU is to work for everything. If you want it, work for it, go earn it. And I think that kind of alludes to your D3 mentality. You know, I mean, those guys, they, you know, there's hard workers at every level. We know that, but high school all the way up. But that mentality of, we just got to, like you said, grind, not to be cliche. We got to get down in the dirt and get it done. I think it was in that practice that I watched.
Yeah, no doubt. And that's you know, that's his approach every day. It never changes. And just that consistency of hearing that over and over again, you know, it's going to, you know, it's going to affect you one way or the other. You know, you're either going to take that advice and you're going to get better from it, or you're just not going to last. It's just not the right place for you. You know, and that can be the case. You know, you can have that, especially in today's world of college basketball with kids transferring so easily and things like that. It might not be the right place, and that's fine. We probably don't want you there.
Yeah, I hear you. Let's switch gears just for a second and talk a little bit about the the high school level and strength and conditioning. I've got a lot of followers that are high school coaches, and we all, if you're trying to do it the right way, even at the high school level, you need to have some sort of strength and conditioning program, and we have to do that ourselves for the most part. So, based off of limited equipment and limited functional space, with that in mind, what advice would you give to the high school basketball coach who's trying to develop and build their own strength conditioning program?
That's a great question and an easy one for me to answer. It's keep it simple, okay? It doesn't have to be the things you see on social media, okay? We don't need that right now, especially at the high school level. Yeah. We need a solid base to be driven into these guys at the high school level. And I promise you, if you build a solid base, you're going to get the results that you would get from some of those gimmicky type training things you're going to see by building a solid base, by doing a squat variation. It doesn't have to be a back squat. By doing a hinge variation, that's like an RDL or a deadlift type pull from the floor, doing a push variation, a bench press, a military press, a pull variation, a row, a pull-up, chin-up, okay? Doing those 4 basic things are going to give you so much more over the long run than some of the sexy, gimmicky type things that you see online of guys doing crazy stuff. I can't even think of an example right now, but you're going to get so much more from those 4 things and just being really good at it. I mean, to be honest, that's what I do at the college level. I just have more time to do it, better facilities, more space, and slightly more athletic kids. That's it. I would run the same program if I had 9th graders. I've got a 13-year-old in my garage, and I run the same program with him. Right. That's what we do. Yeah. So keep it simple. Keep it simple. Keep it simple.
Yeah. Yeah. My experiences in high school working out, obviously, you're familiar with that program, but that's pretty much what was instilled in that program at Eastern Randolph. And, obviously, my interest in strength and conditioning, probably goes beyond the average head boys basketball coach at the high school level, just because of my experiences there with you guys.
Certainly.
And of course, you guys, I think you held a speed camp one summer, and we had a speed camp, and that's where I really first learned the mechanics of running, to be honest with you. And and so for a slow white boy, it actually really helped me. And I think that the message to my players and to high school players across the country is it does make a difference. Consistent work, and like you said, simple work, but consistent work does make a difference even at the high school level.
You just said it. You learned the mechanics of running in high school. Not we didn't have parachutes out there or anything like that, or resistance bands. We learned how to run, and that's the point of that, where we're keeping it simple and developing sound, fundamental basis athleticism,
Right. Yeah. So, Coach, obviously we're all in this strange time, this COVID-19 pandemic. It's thrown us all for a loop. And, Coach Adam Williams, you're familiar with Coach Adam. He tweeted something today about, coaches taking advantage of this opportunity for professional development, which I think all coaches that want to be good have done that at every level. But he also alluded to the importance of being with your family and how this is a great time to be with your family and to take advantage of that as well. I've noticed you, obviously, you've put some workout videos there with your son. How have you guys been handling this time together?
Yeah, I saw that tweet by Adam as well. And Adam, if you get to see this, still one of my best before and after pictures ever from Marshall. It's incredible. But he's right. He's right. We talk a lot about, online learning and trying to do some of that stuff. And definitely we have some time for that right now. Mm-hmm. But it's really a time, especially as coaches, to really pour into your family and really get to know them. Right. In this time, I mean, you're lucky with 2 young ones at home. I'm lucky I have a 13-year-old and an 8-year-old, Yeah. I'm thinking the other day, like I probably wouldn't see my 13-year-old this much at this time if this was the case, you know, and or be able to do some of the activities with my 8-year-old that I'm able to do right now, as far as the coloring and art projects and different things like that. So that has been fun. But as far as how we're handling it, that's a great question. And right when we started this thing, right when we got back from Brooklyn, we have a member of our staff here at VCU who works with our team on mindfulness and things like that. And, you know, the first thing he said to us as a team was, get a routine. And he's absolutely right. Now, in the first week, you know, it kind of felt like a vacation a little bit. Like, oh, this is kind of interesting here. You know, I'm gonna watch this show and I'm gonna do this. But after that, I can't tell you how important, you know, our Monday through Friday routine is.
Right.
As far as, you know, every day from 4 to 6 in the afternoon, we're outside. I don't care what you're doing. I don't care if it's raining. It doesn't matter. We're going to be outside. You know, we got a garage, so you can be inside that, but we're going to be out during that. You know, we have our reading time. The kids have their school time. You know, I have my work time that I'm going to do in the morning out here, that I've made a little office in the garage. You know, my wife's been able to do some things around the house that we've not been able to do and things like that. So, and that to me is the key. He was exactly right. Is having a routine and just, you know, living by it and trying to make the best of it.
Yeah, that's 100% the way that I am. You know, even at the high school level, we're pretty busy with this whole thing between teaching and coaching, and so you know, at the very beginning, we were in the same boat. But routine is everything for me. I feel anxious without routine, to be honest with you.
Yes.
So we've had to settle into that as well. You know, you got a son, Devin, and he plays multiple sports. And I've noticed, you know, obviously he's getting to the age now where he can start training, you know, a little more functionally and seriously than he was earlier in elementary school. So talk about your role as a sports parent, and, you know, even necessarily, let's kind of set aside your professional, you know, experiences and how that helps Devin. Obviously, not everybody has the knowledge that you have for functional training for a 13-year-old. But let's just talk about sports parenting in general.
Sure.
What role could or should a parent play in the athletic development of his or her child?
A supportive one. You know, we've talked about this before, and this is one of my passions is seeing this. And, you know, I grew up with supportive parents as far as my sister and I's athletic careers were, you know, in high school. And so I saw that side of things. And, you know, also even at that age, you saw the crazy sport parent side of things from some people. But at the time, you know, I don't know if I understood it or, you know, what kind of effect that had, but I do remember it, you know, and so it does stick out to me. And so as Devin, when he was born, you know, I decided that I was going to be supportive and I'm going to help him in anything he wants to do. But you're never going to hear from me at a game. I'm never going to say anything to a coach or anything like that, because that's what needs to be figured out, you know. And I mean, Devin did from a young age exhibit that was his main interest, was playing ball. And so we've always to get him in different activities, let him try things, and it's been fun to watch how different scenarios affect him. When he may be 5 or 6, we signed him up for a soccer team for the first time because he said he had fun, and his coach was more interested in taking pictures with his new iPhone than he was at actually coaching. And so Devin doesn't like soccer now, you know, and it was shaped by that coach and his outlook, and the team stunk, and you know, it wasn't a lot of fun. And so that kind of shaped that, you know, with no input from myself or my wife or anything like that. And then it's funny, this past year, I noticed a shift in baseball as he played his 12-year-old year in Texas, and Texas youth sports is a society unto itself.
Imagine.
And the pressure on those kids as they played, you could see it mount each week. And you're probably to the point now where you see how some of these weekend tournaments work, where they play the pool play on Saturday and they play the championships on Sunday and that kind of stuff. And our team was a really good little team. Yeah. But man, every week there was some kind of controversy, and it was just mounted, and the team played in 15 straight championship games over these weekends, and it was just too much. It's just, like, you could see the kids from 11 to 12 stop having as much fun, right. And pair that with preteen hormones that start to kick in and things like that. And, it does change for them. So I've seen a change there. But the whole time, my role in this is to sit in right field with a book and watch the games and enjoy it when I can and when I can be there, which is not always the case, but I do get to as many as I can. And it's just interesting phenomenon to watch of sports parents, and how every parent, for the most part, no, I'm not saying that. That's a bad. Many parents are looking, whether they're living through their children or thinking about athletic scholarships or whatever it may be, right. And it's probably not the right thing. The right thing to do probably should be like, hey, my two rules with Devin are play hard and have fun. That's it. I don't care.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. Support. I think also as a parent, I'm learning. I want to be the best sports parent that I can be if my children choose and have a desire to play sports continually like Devin has. But I also think advice for parents is be a learner. Like I'm sitting here learning from Coach Roose about how to be a better sports parent. And there's nothing wrong with that. As a high school coach, I have heard more than once, well, you'll understand when you have a kid. You'll understand when you have a kid that's in high school, how I'm feeling and how he's feeling. And, like his little heart's crushed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I understand that. I will understand. And I may not have that same level of understanding yet of how sports can crush a child, or how not sports, excuse me. It's not the sports fault, but it's the human beings involved with it, the adults a lot of times, and so right. I'm aware that can happen. But also, I think there's a level of open-mindedness that parents also need to have, like, hey, how can I do this better? And that's not with me saying that with any certain person in mind. That's just me saying that to myself. Like, how can I be a better sports parent for my 8-year-old who is really into soccer right now?
Right.
And so that growth process will be continual, just like it has been for you and all parents. And hopefully I have a handle on it. And I think me and you both have seen the best and we've seen the worst. So hopefully we can continue to do the right thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, hey, last thing before we leave, real quick. A couple years ago, we had a discussion about the importance of primal movements in the athletic development of a child, and you were kind of explaining to me and sent me an article on that. Talk about that, because I don't think a lot of people understand how important that is just for the overall athleticism of a child.
Yeah, for sure. That to me, and this started with me a few years ago. I was actually researching energy system usage for basketball, and I was talking to some MMA, some mixed martial arts guys who train fighters and things. And one of the guys asked me, he said, well, your players, are they comfortable getting on the floor? And I said, oh, they'll dive on a loose ball. Like, he said, no, that's not what I mean. Like, can they get on the floor and can they get up? And I said, I don't know. It's not something that we do, And he said, well, get them in touch with the floor. And the reason is because that your proprioception system and your vestibular system all respond, and your body has to understand where it is in space. And when your body understands where it is in space and how to use leverage and how to do things like that, it becomes a much more robust athlete that's resistant to injury. And so for me to simplify that is, right now when you get off this, go in your living room and sit down in an isometric squat. So just sit down in a body weight squat and then try to do a forward roll from that position and come back to that body weight squat. You're going to have a tough time with that. Right. You're probably going to be dizzy, and tomorrow morning your neck might hurt, Right. And it's all because these things that we're born with, the ability to learn how to crawl and walk and roll and all those things, they leave us after a certain time because we don't use them anymore. We don't practice. Right. And so with that being said, we want to regress to progress. And so we want to take this back and reintroduce these primal movements, which are, what I've broken them down to are running, crouching, crawling, rolling, climbing, carrying, and throwing. And all those are just basic human movements that are the foundation for athleticism. Yeah. And, so rolling and tumbling, are a big piece in there that get lost and get left behind sometime. And so, man, we spend, different, whatever part of the year it in, we'll spend up to 20 minutes a day in the early off season on those. And we'll spend 5 minutes a day in the in season. As part of our warm up, running, crouching, crawling, rolling, climbing, carrying, and throwing in the weight room. And there's 100 different variations of all those kind of things. But when you can move in all three planes of motion with those movements, it's the foundation for all of those cool things that you see on social media, on YouTube. If you can't do those, it's going to be hard to do those other things without getting hurt. Yeah. And so that's become a big part of what we do, and understanding that and understanding our body. And it's also a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, to tie that to little kids, I'm sitting here thinking about my kids get outside time every day like yours have, and watching them. And there's a few neighborhood kids, they've kind of run around 6 feet apart, but you see them running, crouching, squatting, tumbling literally every day when they're outside. Right. And that's how important is play for kids, and development, because they're doing
huge, absolutely. And then what we do is we specialize these kids in sports, at the age of 9, 10. Right. And then they're playing one sport, and the parents think that's the best thing to do, understandably so. More is always better, and they're practicing this one sport with its one set of movement patterns. Yeah. And then they just become kind of ingrained in there, and all these other movements fall by the wayside. Whereas by playing multiple sports and being exposed to multiple cultures, multiple movement patterns, things like that, you're going to get more of those things. Right. But just my way of combating that is just adding those basic gymnastic skills into what we do. Yeah. And you'll see that in a lot of college programs here moving forward.
All right. Coach, I really appreciate your time, man. Goes without saying that I have a lot of respect for you. I know it's been years since we've been together, but I'm still appreciative of the time that you poured into my life for the time at Eastern Randolph, and your continual willingness to reach out and connect and allow me to do the same. I told my staff this as we closed when we went and watched you guys at VCU. I notice a lot of times, like, how do people treat people who those people that they're treating can really do nothing for them? And I watch how people treat certain people. I walked into the gym and Coach Rhodes had conversations with us from the start to the end and was treating us with the utmost respect. And so I know you do the same thing. And I just think that says a lot about you, and, try to pattern my life just like that, is treat people the way that they're supposed to be treated and need to be treated, even if they can't do anything for you.
Exactly. Yep. Well, Brian, I appreciate it. This has been great. Love watching you grow as a coach and the success that you guys have. Really, really enjoyed following along this year. Yeah. An unfortunate end with this thing, but still nothing to be ashamed of. What you guys have done has been awesome.
Thanks, Coach. We're looking forward to the future, man, and we'll be in touch. I really appreciate your time.
All right. Thanks, Brian.
See you.